2025 already looks like one of the best years for gaming, and the best part is that not even everything has been announced yet. Yes, it's time to go over all the big games that will very likely be revealed and maybe even released in 2025. One of the most popular glitches in Spider-Man 2 was being able to free roam as Venom, so a whole game where we play the villain would of course be awesome, and something that at one point was planned at Insomniac for the end of 2025 as a spin-off game before Spider-Man 3. Now, in that Insomniac leak, we also found 3 free story DLCs for Spider-Man 2, with then later a developer menu that appeared with an update, of course showing the Beetle DLC as well. Like at one point, this was all planned as part of free updates for Spider-Man 2, but plans changed, and Insomniac at the end of last year confirmed that there would be no story DLC after all. Now, they were already working on it, like I don't think they completely cancelled it. We will still see the Beetle fight, and of course, at one point we will fight Carnage, and to me it would be wild if we had to wait till Spider-Man 3, which would be like in 2028 at the earliest. So I think they put that content towards the Venom game to make that larger in size. Like Sony still wants something Spider-Man related to sell the PS5, and a Venom game only makes sense. Now that we have not seen it yet doesn't mean that it cannot launch in 2025. Remember, Miles Morales was also announced in June 2020 and then launched in November 2020. So this Venom game could totally be part of the yearly June showcase or state of play and then come out at the end of 2025. Now things might have changed because of the Insomniac hack and the very unfortunate passing of Tony Todd, who of course voiced Venom, but I still think they want to launch it at the end of 2025 and then have Wolverine in 2026. Capcom released a new Resident Evil game every year since the RE2 remake in 2019, but the streak ended with the Resident Evil 4 remake in 2023. So it's now a year and a half, and we don't even know what the next Resident Evil game will be. So it's obvious that we will at least see Resident Evil 9 revealed, but it could totally release in the next 12 months as well. The director of RE7 is in charge of this new entry, and we have some leaked information, and namely that it could take place on an island in Southeast Asia in a town inspired by Singapore specifically, and it could be way more open this time compared to the linear nature of the previous games. And of course the fact that they are finally ditching the old generation of hardware means that we should expect some big graphical improvements as well. Resident Evil games usually get announced during Sony shows, so any state of play or showcase in 2025 could have RE9 as one of the biggest reveals. In February 2024, we learned that the development on the new Metro game continues separate from the VR game that was just announced and of course now released and was made by a separate team. Like the developers at 4A Games are not hiding the fact that they've been working on a new single player game in the series after the development on Exodus ended. In February 2023, we actually learned that this next Metro game is already fully playable, according to Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming, who has an amazing track record. Usually that means that the game is close to being done, but we obviously still have not seen it, but there are good reasons for it, as 4A Games is of course operating from Ukraine. It might also have to do with the new multiplayer ambitions they have. Maybe things got more complicated than they thought. They are getting help from Saber though, who recently did Space Marine 2. But yeah, from the sounds of it, Metro 4 is still a single player game like the previous titles, but then also with a separate multiplayer component. We will likely get the answers this year. It's no secret that a big new Tomb Raider game is in development at Crystal Dynamics, responsible for the recent trilogy. In April 2022, the game was announced and that it would be running on Unreal Engine 5, and this is probably what our Lara will look like. So while Amazon, as you might know, is doing a Prime TV show with potentially Sophie Turner as Lara, the game will be completely separate from that. And I hope the rumors are true that it's going to be a fully open world game set in India where we can use a motorcycle and other traversal methods to get around a big map. We got a hint of what that could look like in Uncharted Lost Legacy, like that open level with multiple objectives that you could do in any order was totally my favorite part of that game. Now 6 months ago, the Amazon boss said that details on the next Tomb Raider are not too far away, so I think there's a high chance that we at least see it revealed in 2025. I can't wait. And of course, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for coverage on all these big upcoming games. Last year Sony announced many new games, and I think this year won't be any different. I by the way predicted in this same video last year that the new Ghost would be shown, and it of course did. Now this year it feels in particular time for the new original title from Bluepoint. Like they are moving away from the remakes after Demon's Souls and the Shadow of the Colossus remake they did, and have been working since the start of 2021 on something brand new. So they've been working on it for around 4 years, so I can totally see this being one of those games that they reveal and then even launch in the same year, similar to Astrobots, Lego Horizon and Concord in 2024. So there was this weird behind the scenes tour video where we saw art for a desert fantasy setting, which is likely for Bluepoint's game. So an action adventure title, brand new IP in what seems to be a really cool setting, so sign me up. We're also due for an announcement from Sony Band. Days Gone released in 2019, and we know after that they were working on an Uncharted project, a prequel with Sully, but they cancelled that, and now they switched to a new IP. So they've been working on this for around 3 years. All we know is that it includes multiplayer and builds upon the open world systems of Days Gone, but brings you a whole new world. We recently saw some old leaked images from the game that hinted at a third-person military shooter with some futuristic elements, but also a leveling system, skill points. It's going to be a live service game, that's at least what we know, and I really hope this works out for them. My favorite parts of Days Gone were going on the journey with Deacon and the emotional impact that some of the moments had, and of course the hordes were awesome too. I really hope that this next game can capture some of these moments, but it might be hard for a live service title. We will probably learn more this year. In December 2019, we learned that the next Bioshock game is in development at a new 2K studio, Cloud Chamber, and half a year ago it was said that the developer was ramping up with over 30 new job openings. Mel, who first worked on Assassin's Creed Odyssey as a narrative director, has now been working on this next Bioshock for more than 5 years, so you would think that it's time that we at least see what this next game is about in 2025. Rumors have suggested that it's set in a fictional Antarctic city in the 1960s and that it might have more open world elements, which I think could be cool to have like more exploration and maybe things you can do in different orders. The only reason why I think they might wait with the reveal is because of Judas, the new game from the original Bioshock creator Ken Levine. So I'm 50-50 on it, but I still wanted to include it in this video because it's certainly possible that we see it revealed in the next 12 months. For Ubisoft, there are multiple options. We have rumors about an Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag remake that is coming sooner than we think, aka November 2025, and I believe it. So high chance we see that during Ubisoft Forward in June of this year. But in terms of new games, the most likely candidate is the next Ghost Recon. Dominique, who was a game content director on Breakpoint, is now a game director for 5 years, likely on this new game. So if they launch it at the end of 2025, then this new Ghost Recon game will be in development for double the amount of time as Breakpoint. Leaks suggest that they are going back to the first-person perspective. It should look a lot like Ready or Not, also in terms of graphical quality, and have a ton of Modern Warfare influences. We recently learned that Far Cry 7 and the multiplayer spin-off Maverick were delayed to 2026, so I don't think those will be announced this year, but it could totally be that because of the underperformance of Star Wars Outlaws and the positive feedback now on Shadows that they got by delaying it, that they also give Ghost Recon even more time and push that to 2026. Because really, both Ghost Recon and Far Cry are not as big as they used to be, so these new releases, especially for Ghost Recon, are going to be very important. But yeah, we will at least see the Black Flag remake and of course a ton of DLC for Assassin's Creed Shadows, but 2025 should overall be the year of some big expansions. We have very substantial rumors from both Bloomberg and Insider Gaming that a Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition is coming this year. This should include 10 to 15 hours of new content like side missions, activities, of course a new story quest. It's wild to me that it still has not been announced yet, as you would think that 2 years after launch is the longest you want to wait for this type of DLC. We also know there's a Black Myth Wukong DLC coming. I could see them launch that around August, so 1 year after release. And while not 100% confirmed, I could also see Stellar Blade get some actual new content in 2025 maybe alongside the PC version. But the game reveal that I'm the most curious about this year is Horizon Online. It's still kind of wild to me that we haven't seen it, as it has now been in development for 7 years, the same amount of time as Horizon Zero Dawn. Well, this will change in 2025 because, as you might know, they hired a release QA intern to make the game ready for launch, and this person has to work in the first half of 2025. As I said before, I think hunting the machines with friends could be really cool, but I hope this game is much more. A real big open world RPG that you can also enjoy alone if you want, and it still has some narrative side to it as well that we all love from the single player games, but then not through the eyes of Aloy. I just hope that the art style looks better than the leak we saw when we finally see the first trailer during one of the upcoming events. A large-scale community test for the new Battlefield is happening in early 2025, and this will either leak or EA has to properly reveal the game before that, so totally expect to see this new current day Battlefield this year. Like it should be said, between 2027 and 2030, focus on 64 people with double the amount of weapons that Battlefield 2042 had at launch. They basically want to go back to the core of the series in the hope to win back players. Like classes will be back, more focus on destruction. It would be good to have a large competitor for Call of Duty again, although we have to wait and see, of course, if they can make this work. There are a few more potential game reveals we could see directly after the release of the first Control. They started on the sequel, as we see on the LinkedIn page from the creative director on the game. So it has been in the works for quite some time, and it's going to be more of an action RPG this time, which should mean a deeper customization and progression elements. Now, while I don't think it will launch in 2025, we could totally see it revealed at like the Game Awards at the end of the year. Remedy is also doing a Max Payne 1 and 2 remake that we could also properly see announced in 2025. Now, a title that I expected to properly see by now is the 007 game from Hitman maker IO Interactive that will feature a new Bond and should start a new trilogy. At the end of 2024, it was said that they will share more details soon, so Summer Game Fest, I think, makes the most sense for the reveal. Now, what reveals do you hope to see? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. I know that there are some other games out there, but I think those will need a bit more time. But of course, your input is welcome in the comments. A like would be awesome, and subscribe for coverage on these big games. And check out the video going over the big titles that will be released in 2025 by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.